I'm going to lay this out for you right now, plain and simple, because I still wake up in a cold sweat thinking about it. Was I wrong to hold on to that secret, to nurture that silent, simmering rage for almost 2 years, just so I could unleash it at the exact asterisk moment it would cause the most damage? I ask myself that question every single day, especially now that the dust has settled and I'm living a completely different life. But let me tell you, when I saw the look on his face, the realization that everything he had built, everything he had stolen from me, was crumbling because of one little piece of metal. A piece of metal I earned with my blood and my sacrifice. It was the most satisfying moment of my entire professional life. So, before you judge me, before you tell me I should have been the bigger person, I need you to hear the whole story. I need you to tell me truly, would you have done any different? My name is Mark, and for the past 8 years, my life had been that company Global Systems, a massive logistics and defense contractor. I didn't just work there, I bled for it. I started on the factory floor, worked my way through night school, got my engineering degree, and eventually landed a position in the highly competitive Advanced Projects division. I was the guy who stayed late, the guy who took the calls on Christmas, the guy who could troubleshoot a complex system blindfolded. I genuinely loved the work. It was challenging, meaningful, and I was good at it. I was, by all accounts, on the fast track. My manager, a man named Robert, let's call him Robert the Grinder, had promised me, multiple times, that the next supervisory promotion was mine. He'd look me in the eye, clap me on the shoulder, and say, "Mark, you're the backbone of this division. You're next in line." He made me feel like family, like a partner. And I believed him. I worked harder, took on more risk, and turned down a competing offer that would have given me a substantial raise, all because I believed in Robert and his promise. Then came the new hire. His name was Jeremy. Jeremy was a college acquaintance of Robert's, fresh out of some fancy business school, and had been at the company for maybe 6 months. Jeremy was all polish, no substance. He was charming in meetings, spoke the corporate jargon perfectly, and always dressed in suits that cost more than my first car. But when it came to the actual work, the nuts and bolts of what we did, he was utterly useless. I spent more time correcting his mistakes and holding his hand than I did on my own projects. He was the classic political animal, excellent at taking credit for other people's successes and deflecting blame when things went wrong. I complained to Robert, not out of malice, but because Jeremy was actively slowing down critical projects. Robert just waved it off with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Team dynamic, Mark. Give him time to grow into the role. The promotion opportunity finally opened up. It was for the Advanced Projects Supervisor position, my dream job. It came with a huge raise, stock options, and, most importantly, the authority to steer the future of the division. Robert called me into his office. I walked in, already planning the congratulatory dinner with my wife. He had that somber, forced, pity look on his face. He didn't offer me the chair. He stood and said, without any preamble, "Mark, we've decided to go in a different direction. We're giving the position to Jeremy." The air went out of the room. I felt a ringing in my ears. I just stood there, speechless. When I finally managed to speak, my voice was a rough whisper. "Why, Robert, you promised me. I've been here 8 years. I have the experience, the technical skills, the track record. Jeremy can't even run a basic simulation without help." Robert leaned back against his desk, crossing his arms. The mask dropped for a second, and I saw the cold, ruthless corporate machine underneath. It's about vision, Mark. Jeremy has the leadership asterisk presence asterisk. He has the asterisk external asterisk qualifications we need to interface with high-level clients. Frankly, Mark, while you're technically brilliant, you just don't have the polish. You're a doer, not a leader. A asterisk doer asterisk, a workhorse, a utility player to be used and discarded. He essentially told me I was too good at my job to be promoted out of it. He was keeping me right where I was, stuck doing the heavy lifting, while Jeremy, his shiny protege, would get the title, the money, and the power. I walked out of that office a different man. The loyalty was gone. The respect was gone. All that was left was a burning, icy resolve. I didn't quit. I couldn't, not immediately. The mortgage was too high, and the job market for my specialized field was tight. So I stayed. I watched Jeremy stumble through his new role. I watched him make costly mistakes that Robert had to frantically cover up. And I watched as they both took credit for the few successes I still managed to salvage from the wreckage. My internal dialogue became a constant, venomous monologue. I was patient, though. I knew that revenge served cold tastes the sweetest, but I didn't know asterisk how asterisk to get it. I didn't have a smoking gun. Robert and Jeremy were too well insulated by the corporate structure. I needed something irrefutable, something that would tear down their carefully constructed lies in front of everyone who mattered. So that's the situation I was in. I was the invisible man, the workhorse who had been betrayed, watching my intellectual property and my hard work elevate a completely undeserving fraud. My career was dead, ended by two people whose only skill was political maneuvering. I was trapped between my financial obligations and my disintegrating professional integrity. I felt humiliated, furious, and utterly helpless. I could have gone to HR, but I knew the process would be rigged. I could have quit, but I would have been sacrificing my family's stability for a momentary outburst of pride. Before I tell you what happened next, what I finally did to level the playing field, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have resigned quietly and moved on? Or would you have stayed, biding your time, searching for that single opportunity to destroy the people who tried to destroy you? I stayed, and as I worked, keeping my head down, a secret I had carried for years began to feel less like a private memory and more like a tactical nuclear weapon. I realized that my asterisk past asterisk was the key to my future. Let me rewind a bit. Before I came to global systems, before I went to night school, I served. I was in the Army, specifically in a highly specialized technical field. I was deployed to a very dangerous, very remote area where my technical expertise was critical to a high-stakes operation. It was a long, brutal tour. A lot went wrong. We were ambushed, our gear was destroyed, and I had to repair a crucial piece of communication equipment under heavy fire, which allowed us to call in support and ultimately saved the lives of everyone in my unit. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. When I left the service to pursue my engineering career, the military recognized that action. They gave me a medal, the highest honor I've ever received, one that is rarely given for technical roles. But when I applied to global systems, I was trying to leave that life behind. I wanted a fresh start. My military service was on my resume, of course, but I deliberately left the specifics vague. I never wore the medal, never mentioned the incident, and only put a simple honorable discharge on my application. Robert never pressed me on it. He just seemed focused on my technical ability. For 8 years, that medal sat locked away in a safe deposit box. It was my secret, my moment of true, unquestionable bravery and competence. The opportunity came a year and a half after Jeremy's promotion, and it was perfect. The company was bidding on an enormous multi-billion-dollar government contract. It was the kind of contract that would define the company's trajectory for the next decade. The final presentation was held at the Pentagon with the Secretary of Defense, his staff, and a host of generals present. Robert, as the division head, was leading the pitch. Jeremy, as the advanced project supervisor, was scheduled to give the technical deep dive, the part I had written for him. And I was in the back row, a glorified technical support staffer, there to answer any curveball questions. Robert had the team dress in our most expensive civilian attire. The whole thing was pomp and circumstance. The presentation was going smoothly, mostly thanks to the slides and data I had generated. Jeremy, reading my notes, was doing surprisingly well, sounding confident and knowledgeable. Then, the Secretary of Defense, a serious man with a military background, leaned forward after Jeremy finished the technical segment. He asked a question that was deceptively simple. "Mr. Smith," he said, using Jeremy's name, given the operational environment we're discussing, "I'm curious about the under-duress failure rate of this system's communication protocol. Not the lab test, but your real-world experience. Can you elaborate on the design decisions you made to mitigate failure in a hostile situation?" It was a question that required not just technical knowledge, but hands-on, high-stress, real-world experience, the kind Jeremy absolutely did not have. Jeremy's confident facade cracked. He stammered, fumbled with his notes, and started rambling about robust design principles and redundancy. He was sinking fast, and the generals' faces were turning to stone. Robert was sweating profusely, shooting panicked glances at me. This was it, the moment I had waited for. Robert cleared his throat, ready to jump in and save Jeremy, but I moved first. I stood up quietly from the back row. "Sir," I said, my voice steady and respectful, cutting through Jeremy's panicked sputter. "With all due respect, Mr. Smith wouldn't have that specific experience, but I can answer your question." All eyes turned to me. Robert looked like he was about to have a stroke. The secretary looked intrigued. I took a deep breath. The communication protocol's resilience under duress comes down to component hardening and field repairability. In a hostile scenario, a technician may only have minutes to restore comms. The most critical design decision was making the primary transmission line field swappable with 3 common components without requiring specialized tools. I know this because the initial prototype I developed was field tested in a high-stress scenario where I myself had to execute that exact repair while taking enemy fire. A hush fell over the room. The secretary studied me, his gaze penetrating. "Your name, son." I told him my name. He looked down at the paper in front of him. "And your previous experience, Mr. Peterson. It says here specialized technical service." I didn't flinch. "Yes, sir. I was a technical sergeant in the Army, attached to a forward unit in Afghanistan. That high-stress scenario I mentioned resulted in the unit regaining communication, leading to a successful extraction. Then, I reached inside my jacket. Before leaving for this critical meeting, I had gone to the bank and retrieved the medal. I pulled it out, a beautiful bronze and enamel star suspended from a crisp blue and white ribbon, and quietly laid it on the edge of the conference table. The room recognized it instantly. It wasn't the Congressional Medal of Honor, but it was the Distinguished Service Medal, the highest award given for valorous service not involving direct combat with the enemy, and an almost unheard-of award for a technical expert. The secretary's eyes widened, and he sat back in his chair. "Technical sergeant," he murmured, respect radiating from him. Doing a comms repair under fire, that's valor. We need people who understand actual resilience, not just theoretical failure modes. You saved a unit. He looked at Jeremy, then at Robert, who was now utterly pale. Gentlemen, you put the wrong man in charge of this technical presentation. Your technical supervisor is a man with zero operational experience, while your technical expert is a decorated war hero who's been doing the actual work. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Robert and Jeremy were politically annihilated in a single, devastating moment. The contract, I found out later, was provisionally awarded, but with the explicit requirement that I, and only I, would be the project lead. The fallout at Global Systems was swift and brutal. The Secretary of Defense, as it turns out, was a serious man of action, and he called the CEO of Global Systems the next day, personally vouching for me and expressing his extreme displeasure that decorated veteran had been marginalized and passed over. Robert was fired the following week for gross misrepresentation of personnel qualifications. Jeremy was swiftly demoted, stripped of his title, and ended up quitting in disgrace a month later. I didn't just get the supervisor position, I was racked to divisional director for this new, massive project. My salary quadrupled, I received an unprecedented signing bonus, and I got full authority to hire my own team. My wife and I bought a new house. The silence, the waiting, the quiet professionalism I maintained for those 18 months had paid off better than any screaming confrontation ever could have. The moment I placed that medal on the table, I wasn't just answering a question. I was presenting undeniable proof of my character, my competence, and their absolute deceit. It wasn't about the medal itself, it was what the medal represented, a level of real world pressure and problem solving that they couldn't even dream of faking. It was the ultimate, irrefutable evidence that I was the right person, and they were the corrupt gatekeepers. The moral of the story is this: never let someone else define your worth, especially if they profit from your humility. Sometimes the most powerful weapon you have is the quiet strength of your own unacknowledged achievements. I learned that you don't always need to fight on their terms. You just need to find the one unassailable truth about yourself that they cannot dismiss, and use it at the exact moment their house of lies is most exposed. I sleep better now, not because of the money or the title, but because I served justice the way it was meant to be served, cold, swift, and utterly deserved. If you were on my side, if you think I was right to wait and use my past to tear down their corruption, like this video right now. And if this story resonated with you, if you've ever been passed over or marginalized, then you need to subscribe for more stories like this where the little guy gets their ultimate, righteous revenge. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Did Robert and Jeremy get what was coming to them? I'll see you all in the next story.